Everybody, CNL here. Glad to be back. Views are up, subs are up. Seen a lot of comments, a lot of likes. Seems to be a lot of new people here, a lot of new interests. So we're going to go through things some more, give you some more pieces of the puzzle. Kind of like starting over from what we did before, a little bit less confusing. Now everybody, initially perceives things different ways. But the only way that I know how to explain things is through the lens of how it happened for me, using the secrets and the keys that I was given, because it does have, some background to it. It does tie to other books and certain things and symbols, and it all came from her. So regardless of where you start at, this should, work for you. And please feel free to ask any questions that you have, because I know for a lot of people we're starting off with some new things here. So like I said, I only know how to teach it from the standpoint of the Gnostic path, the Gnosis that comes directly from the Spirit. And I went through the entire path. I unlocked everything, and now she uses me to help bring some more people into it, but I can't do it for you. I can only kind of help lead the way. But the nice thing about having somebody like me, it's for me, it sucks because it's kind of like I was the guy at the front of the line, leading the expedition through the jungle. I had to swing the machete the whole way, clearing the path. And it's exhausting because there's nobody there to kind of point the way for you. The only thing that was pointing the way was what I was getting from her, and I didn't even know it was a her yet. But the further you get, it can get really, really, really complicated, and then you get past a certain point and it becomes very simple. It gets complicated and it becomes simple. So as you go, you realize a lot of these things that you had to do along the way, you didn't necessarily need to do. You can discard most of them, and then there'll be like one or two key nuggets from each point, and that's what you want to give to people, and it helps them to get there faster with a lot less effort. Because when you were doing it, you didn't understand everything that was in your way. You didn't understand what the opposition, you didn't know what you didn't know. So it was a lot more confusing and a lot more to figure out. But once you've actually accomplished it, once it's become normal for you, then you're at a place of knowledge, and then you can help people a lot better. So this is real, practical, first-hand experience knowledge, not stuff that I read from a book. But if you want to get on with it, if you want to find out yourself how you can connect more to the light that clearly called you here, then don't go away. So let's keep it simple. In the way that I perceive it, in the way that it happened for me, the terminology that worked for me is what you're mainly interacting with is the side of the all that is that the world and religion and society tries to keep you away from, and that is the divine feminine side. Everything is androgynous out of here. God is not male or female, but is aspects of both. Sometimes we have to dumb it down to our level. It's far more complex than we can possibly ascertain, but we do have things like the Nag Hammadi and stuff that helps bring context to it. If the Nag Hammadi did not have important context, then she wouldn't have told me to read it. And I wouldn't have figured out half of this stuff without it. But it definitely helps when she's helping you, because the first couple of times, I was reading parts, it was a lot to swallow, a lot to grasp. But if you keep doing it, she keeps helping you understand. The layers, the veils that are blocking your understanding come off bit by bit by bit. And what I have seen in the last year or so in working with other people is the dwell time for you to start actually experiencing things and noticing things has gotten significantly shorter. Like, we're talking about a process of 6 some years. Well, it didn't take me 6 years to get there, but because I'm now fully connected, I'm able to get people connected a lot sooner. And there's certain key elements that work 100% of the time. So it's all one thing, but different aspects. So with her, I kind of perceive her two ways. And this is kind of a recap from the previous video. The first is the Lumen side. She is your strength. She's like your companion. She's your sibling, your spouse, the other half of your soul. And then the other one is epinoia of light, which is wisdom and knowledge and all that stuff. And both of them are aspects of a higher level, which is Sophia, which is the mother of everything in this place. But there's a higher divine mother than even her, right up there next to the Father, which is basically the same as the all that is. Not the creator of this world, literally like source, consciousness, everything that exists. We're talking like that level. Everything is connected. But for us to understand things, sometimes we have to interact with it in smaller, bite-sized, digestible chunks. And they act very, very differently. So let's go through, like I said in the last video, there is a secret map in the tarot, in at least 2 of the tarot decks. And the newer deck kind of overlaps the older deck with extra context. But for this point, let's just use the Rider-Waite Tarot, the original tarot. And this is not the whole deck, but I've got certain cards in here to at least give you kind of an idea of the path. Now, about the path, let me say this too. When I'm talking about it, I am somebody that was supposed to do the whole thing. And my understanding from her is not everybody has to do the whole thing, which means I did the whole combination within me. Her and I are connected in the mind, like there's literally 2 of us in here, whereas a lot of people, not everybody, I don't have any percentages or anything like that, but some people will find that aspect in another person. I know some people like this right now. It's kind of like the twin flame thing. Other people, they connect to somebody and they pick up that Lumen aspect, and then it comes to them. So let's just see where we start with this. If you're going to have a starting point where you like have absolutely no idea what's going on, you're going to start with the Devil card, because you don't understand who and what the devil actually is. But in this case, you've got the masculine and the feminine aspects are separated and chained, tied to a ring, tied to that black cube that it's sitting on, that's lording everything over, it's controlling everything in your life. In that time frame, you're basically only operating from the ego mind standpoint, the temporary identity that you are playing in this lifetime, not the soul. The soul is still sleeping. But then eventually you start to have that spiritual awakening, or as I would call it, a soul awakening. And that's when you start to hear the call. That's when you start to think new thoughts. That's when you start getting drawn to something. And that is when she, epinoia, is starting to drop you breadcrumbs, starting to lead you places, putting you in different situations. You haven't really started the path yet, but she's leading. Just, how much are you seeking? That's what really matters. How much are you actually putting in and seeking? And then what would happen is eventually you're going to come into contact with somebody, which is going to have some aspect, or she could be embodying somebody, which we would call like an NPC or something like that, a non-souled being. And there will be some sort of an exchange, which initiates a further escalation of the process and the beginning of the alchemy. At some point, if you're doing the full process, the shit is going to hit the fan. and everything about your old life is going to be torn down, and you're going to be thrown into chaos. Then you become the hermit. There's a period of isolation. You will be cut off from a lot of your support, a lot of other people, because you need that time. You can't find what you're looking for if you're constantly surrounded with other people and other distractions. You need some alone time. So the hermit is seeking, which, here's a little secret. That's actually representative of Saint Benedict. But he's following the light. He's following the lamp. The light is in the lamp. He's following the clues. As time goes on and you progress, eventually you might actually meet your lumen, the other half of your soul. The feminine mind aspect, the lower aspect of Epinoia and Sophia and all that stuff. And she becomes your strength. So I don't have the magician card here handy, but this one matches the magician card because you're the one that's actually doing the stuff and making the path. But she is the one that is going to keep you going. And you will need her to keep you going at a lot of points. If you continue to go far enough and she is now with you, this is where you're getting into the advanced part, though. That may or may not happen for you. But you've got this androgynous being in this card, which is the two made into one, performing the ritual that Jesus did on the river in order to do baptism, which has to do with the sun reflecting on the water and creating that bright, sparkly light. And once that's done, you're changed. Then she initiated another process in which something like psilocybin was introduced to you by surprise, which is going to expand your range to where you can start to be called to the bride that is under the veil, that is holding her arms out. And this is kind of representing being in another realm, which it is. It's like another dimension that you're accessing mentally. Go far enough with that, and you will end up, I'm pretty sure it's Eden. I don't know. It's like she won't tell me specifically, but there's enough inference that it's like that was Eden. So where Eve was taken out of Adam, you go back there so Eve can be put back into Adam and the two can become one. How that happens? Well, it just does. Let's leave it at that. Now you're basically becoming a new child and connecting to that Christ consciousness, which is coming from the sun. This card shows up a bunch of different places. At some point, you're going to go through some sort of, tests or whatnot. She's always giving you different ones. But eventually, you're going to meet the higher aspect, which is Sophia, which she is the mother, or she is the empress of this place. And connected to her is going to be the wellspring of life. Everything flows from her. And you're going to work to become a master of both sides. Driving the chariot, both sides of the brain, both the masculine and the feminine, become more powerful together, which leads to the world card, which is the end of the cycle. And then eventually you get out of this shit show and where you actually want to be. Notice the colors there. That's basically the man and the woman. There's only one couple here. They're becoming like children again. And this one actually connects to the Lover's card in that other deck. It's got a lot of the same symbology in it, but I don't have that handy right now. But right now, all you got to be concerned with is making contact. Like, how do we make contact? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Where's the starting point that everybody starts out at? Here, you're constrained in all sorts of ways that you may not even understand. You gotta start breaking the binds that are keeping you down, keeping you separate. So how do we do that? Well, we do it with the skills that she taught me. You know, like the pendant that I'm wearing, we have a very specific one. This one is my personal one. That is called an Aegis pendant. So this has like all the most powerful stones that break up and disrupt negative energy, negative entities, and all that kind of stuff. Just like everything that is freaking possible. And it has the Benedict metal on it, which, although most people would know it from Catholicism, you know, just like everything else, they stole that. Benedict is different. Benedict wasn't like some Catholic thing. He was a big dog. He was the one that came up with the Benedict exorcism. The back of this metal is pretty much like a sigil, which has the encoded Benedict exorcism on it, which clears a lot of negative energy, clears a lot of negative entities. It does healing. It does all sorts of stuff. And it's only 6 lines of Latin that you should learn, which is Crus sacrus sit mihi dux, non draco sit mihi dux, vade retro satana, numquam suade mihi vana, sunt maleque libas, ipse venina bibas. So we actually do the charging on these metals. We do not have some Catholic priest do it. Ours are stronger. These pendants are guided by her on which stones to act. Like there's like a family of stones for each type of pendant. But as we're making them, she's actually kind of like taking over and guiding which ones go in which quantities and how to put it all together. It makes something that is greater than the sum of its parts. And then through me, she injects this thing full of her energy, makes it 10 times stronger than just like crystals on their own, plus the blessed metal. This is the result of me doing that 20 years of paranormal remediation and dealing with like all of the worst things there are in the world that most people don't even know about. We were at a level where holy water, sage, and black tourmaline just wasn't going to cut it. We basically had to develop nuclear bombs. We had to come up with stuff that nobody's ever done before. We had to make it as powerful as possible for the levels that we were getting at. And she is what helped to do this. So this is a great starting point because everybody's going to have all sorts of crap that they don't realize they have. They know they have negative thoughts. They know they have negative feelings. They know that they have all sorts of pain and traumas and things that they can't let go of. They're affected by negative people. They might have negative people oppressing them. Just, you know, big cloud over their head all the time. We have to break that up. That's what this does. And then it becomes protective and shielding and makes things not want to get near you. A lot of people I'm working with right now talked about, you know, because not everybody in the world is like us. So we're only about 33% of the population. People use different words to describe these different kinds of people, but you would know them as like narcissists, parasitic type people, energy vampires. Like everyone's got all these different names for these people. They don't have any original ideas of their own. They parasite off other people. They take advantage of people. They oppress people. They gaslight people. Those people aren't like you. They see your light and they want to snuff it out, or they want to keep it from getting brighter. Their goal is to keep her from breaking through to you. Once she breaks through to you, there's no putting her back in the box. So that is what the world is trying. Yes, Kat, I understand you went out. Trying to do is trying to keep her from getting out. Trying to keep her from breaking through into your conscious mind. Because once that's done, you know, there's no stopping it at that point. But they do it through distractions. They do it through TV, through addictions, like everything that you're addicted to, whether it's coffee, whether it's sugar, whether it's television, whether it's porn, like whatever, you know, painkillers, alcohol, All addictions are driven by the adversary mind, which is something that can be removed because we've done it. And we've done it with other people. When that thing goes, so do the addictions. But all these things are designed to keep you in the lowest frequency possible and keep her from breaking through. So how do we get her to break through? First of all, what most people tend to think is that, you are you. It's just you. No, when the fact is you are a conglomeration of a lot of different things. You've got your ego identity of who you think you are, the character you're playing. You've got the adversary, which is kind of like sits on top of the ego, and it says things all the time like, you'll never succeed, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not thin enough, you're not attractive enough, you can't because, you never will because, everybody hates you, people are talking about you behind your back, and you have these thoughts and they sound like you, and you think that they're your thoughts, but they are not your thoughts. If you're having a thought and that thought makes you feel bad, that thought was not you. If you're observing something, like in quantum physics or science or whatever, if you are observing a thing, then you cannot be the thing being observed. So when you're observing a thought, you cannot be the origin of that thought. And especially if that thought is saying something about you that makes you feel bad. See, a lot of the depression and a lot of the bad thoughts and things that people have is because you have something in your mind that's not you. Everybody does. It was put there. It was put there to keep you down. Once you realize that that isn't you, then you can start doing something about it. Then you can start doing something like using like this is designed to nullify that thing. So here's that exorcism in English. May the Holy Cross be my light. May the dragon never be my guide. Get back Satan. Satan means adversary in Hebrew. Do not tempt me with your vanities. The cup you offer is evil. Drink the poison yourself. So all this time, all these negative thoughts and stuff like that, that isn't you. That isn't you, and you can shut that out. You can completely remove it. And when that happens, it is the craziest thing, because all of a sudden it's like deafening silence in your head when you blow all that stuff out. You didn't even realize that's what all that chaos is in your head. Think about songs. Think about this. Worry about this. Worry about that. Think about this. Think about that. Do this. Do that. Think about this. But don't give yourself time to think about spirit or contemplate spirit. You ever tried to meditate and you couldn't? You're like, I just can't shut my mind chatter down. It's trying to keep you from doing it. Now, there's a trick to meditation, but we'll save that for another video. You just have to go further back in your head and find that little secret room. You get into there, then it can't make the noise. But I digress. Going through the pattern that I went through, one of the first things, it kind of depends on your path, but everybody has trauma. How do I know everybody has trauma? Because you're here. And I know where here is. Letting go of the past is key. Forgiving yourself is key. You understand, besides the adversary, you've got your sense of self, your identity, you've got your ego self, which isn't real. You've got your soul self, and then you've got the observer, which is kind of like the God spark. Because God is in every one of us. He's in the back of your head like a little CCTV camera watching what's going on. When you can move to that perspective, then you can heal yourself. The self can't heal the self. You need to move back and become the soul part, the part that is connected to the light. That can heal the self. So I figured out how to do that, and I healed a lot of those past traumas, which released a lot of the bindings that were on her. Then I kept following the path. It told me to, so I kind of said a little bit of this in the other video, but the next big thing is fast from the world. Give them bread and circuses. Keep them entertained, entrained. Keep them distracted. Keep them constantly worried about how they're going to live, how they're going to survive, so they can't connect to her. So what is the easiest way to do this? It is to turn off the mechanism by which they are feeding that adversary mind. See, that adversary mind needs to be recharged. How does it do that? Mainly in today's world, through the TV and your smartphone. Through negative news stories, negative social media posts. Everything's wrong with the world. Be afraid of what's coming in the world. Everybody hates everybody else. Negative, 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 fear, 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 conflict, fear, negative, fear, conflict, negative, fear, conflict, 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 fear, conflict. That is what keeps the adversary pinning you down. So what do? You cut off its food. You fast from the world. Minimum 2 weeks. No TV. Now me, I had a little bit of TV, but that's because one of my gifts that I did not mention in the previous video is I can read the Codex. The Codex is her secret book that is in everything. It's in movies, it's in songs, it's in stories, it's in symbols. So I can see that, and I can pick out all the secret stuff in any movie that has to do with her, plain as day. So she might have had me watch, a movie here and there, but for the most part, we didn't watch any movies that had any violence in them, any negativity. You do not watch the news at all, ever, under no circumstances. The mainstream news media, and that includes everything that comes through YouTube, everything that comes through Twitter, the news feed on Facebook. You cannot look at it. You are fasting from the world. You want to not know what is allegedly happening in the world. And that is huge when you cut off its food supply. Now, as it is getting weaker because you're not feeding it, you are now going to take that time and you're going to feed her side. And the number one way that you can feed her side is with music.
And I want you here with me from tonight until the end of time. You should know everywhere I go, always on my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Baby, you're the meaning in my life. You're the inspiration. You bring
but listening to upbeat music, and especially music that has her secret stuff in it, music that is actually talking about her. Like we said in the last video, like a whole bunch of those Mariah Carey songs are talking about her. Some of the early Madonna songs are talking about her. Chicago songs are talking, like there's endless amounts of songs that are actually talking about her. And there are certain songs that have a lot more of an energy charge to them. Beyond the music, she told me to go outside. She told me to go on long walks out in nature. Just get outside, get in the sunlight, get out of the house, get in the fresh air, get around trees and living things, get in the sunlight, just walk. And don't think about stuff. Just focus on where you're at. Focus on seeing the beauty in things around you. Focus on seeing the life in things around you. There you could read certain books to help, like, you know, the Four Agreements or something like that. You're replacing all the negative that you were putting in before with things that are, instead of feeding the dark side, this is now feeding the light side while you're starving off the dark side. And you just want to seek, you want to have the intention, you want to think about it, you want to be reaching for her. It's like, okay, I heard your call, I found these videos, you know, show me like what you want me to see. But don't ask stuff, don't talk to her so much that you, like, that's why you have two ears and one mouth. You want to be listening more than talking, because it'll just be these quiet, it'll start off like quiet little thoughts, quiet little, you know, inspirations that pop into your head, usually early in the morning. If you want to connect with her, if you want to start seeing this connection form, then what you can do is, like, immediately before bed, you know, close your eyes, you know, breathe, get comfortable, and imagine that you're standing in the dark, and now in your mind you're turning around and you're walking backwards into your head until you see a door there. Open the door and walk into that room and let it look however it's going to look for you. There could be some glowing crystals in there. There could be some sort of like liquid light, but it's like kind of like a secret room. This is actually a real actual secret. You're going back into where all those main glands are, where your antenna to source is. If you find that secret room, you should notice that you're no longer bothered by the intrusive thoughts. And then however that light appears, it could be a torch or a flame or something like that, consider that the thing that you're going to talk to. And to keep it simple at first, just ask one question. So you could be like, can you show me that you're there, or something like that. Ask the question, thank her, and then let it go. Go to bed and just fall asleep knowing that you're going to hear an answer. You should have something happen the next day before noon. Something should pop into your head, or you'll get a synchronicity or something, and you'll start to see this pattern. And every time that something happens, every time you see a synchronicity, every time you get an inspired thought, if you hear her voice, make a big deal about it. Remember it, anchor it, and tell yourself, that just happened. That just happened. I'm doing it. It's happening. Like there is something here, and get excited about it, and you'll create more momentum for it, and you will anchor the experience. That's what you want to do. And keep going with it. Now, to push it out even further, so from there, just keep going as far as you can. Now, one thing I would add in retrospect, I didn't do this, but this is where it will eventually lead. This is why she made me diabetic all of a sudden, is because when you're diabetic, you pretty much cannot eat the poisoned food anymore. You pretty much have to eat living food. And she, you know, once I did a whole bunch of upgrades and stuff like that, she tried to point me to that, but it was hard to let go. That was like one of the last few addictions. So eating processed foods, eating junk foods, drinking pop, caffeine, processed sugar, all that all that middle of the grocery store stuff, you don't want to eat that stuff. There's so much sugar in that. There's so much stuff in there that's in there now. That's where all our health problems come from. But it also lowers your vibration, for lack of a better word. So I had a huge jump. I mean, after I recovered from almost dying from ketoacidosis, I had a big spike because the poison wasn't going in anymore. That was one of the last things that she wanted me to do, is to clean up my temple. You know, your body is the temple that the spirit dwells in. So you need to clean up that temple for her. So if you can factor that in too, so much the better. Cleaning up your addictions, so much the better. Now, I usually do not push dependence because I don't want to come off like I'm just trying to sell people something. But these do help people push through what they can normally do by themselves. This is all a big collective effort. And we generally need to have help from other people. This stuff is imbued with her energy. Now, since I've had a couple shifts here lately and a lot of my restrictions have been coming off, I haven't been really wearing my Aegis stuff for negative stuff. I've just been wearing Lumen's personal Divine Love Energy pendant. It's actually got some of the 72 names of God that have to do with the Divine Love stuff. So, like, that's all I need now. I don't, like, a lot of the things that were still trying to cause me issues, like, they've lost their grip. And when that happened, my other YouTube channel, which has nothing to do with this stuff, and this channel started taking off. I started getting new people. I started getting new orders. All that stuff started happening. But she will generally be the one, not me, to tell you which ones you need. Unless you already know that you are like totally swamped with negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions, negative surroundings, then yeah, this is going to be your starting point in Aegis Pendant. This is like holy water, garlic for vampires, blessed brass knuckles, and a nuclear bomb all rolled into one. And usually it works pretty good passively, but you can then learn how to use it actively to push negative stuff out of your way. So if you don't think you can do a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about doing because there's just too much negative stuff holding you down, then you need this. And then we do consults for anybody that gets pendants. So case by case basis, we can help you do different things. It could be energy work and just be coaching or whatnot. But there's always something that goes along with that. But ultimately, like if you're looking at the pendants on the Etsy store, more than me, listen to what's coming from inside you. She will point it out. She will point out what you actually need. A lot of times it's something different than what I would think that you would need. So always, always, always trust the inner guidance. That'll be her. If something's jumping out at you, like, this is the one, that's her. That's her choosing it for you. That's her matching it to you. That one that jumps out at you that way will do more than anything that I choose based on intellectual, figuring it out. But this place is so toxic now. We need every little bit of thing that we can do to help. So either that or, we just came up with we got two oils. One of them's listed, one of them isn't. This is the Lumenite oil. So this is like concentrated lumen juice, and the other one is more case by case basis if we need to like hit something really, really, really hard in the face because it's so negative and it's pinning you down. Well, there's an app for that too. But generally speaking, if you can break through and connect to the love light stuff, and you'll know it when you feel it. It feels so much different than what you were taught to believe love is. That you were taught that it's, most people when they think of love and they think of other people, they're thinking of like physical attraction plus desire. The way it makes, but the actual love, which is the resonant source frequency, is much, much bigger. It's much, much deeper. And you can be completely, there's been times when I got knocked down so hard that I was almost in tears, and I had to pray at night. I'm like, I need you to help me. And the next day, it's just like she's there and just wrapped around me. And it's so comforting that it's like you almost cry from that, because something is helping you. You don't fully understand this place yet. You don't fully understand this experience yet. But she knows how hard it is to understand, and she will help you. She is what Christ was teaching people to connect to. That's what he was connected to. Jesus Christ, that is, the man. The Christ consciousness energy is much, much bigger. But predominantly, it's the divine feminine that they're trying to hide from you. It's the divine feminine that they're trying to keep you away from. That's why they took everything about it out of the three main religions. It reacts very badly to her. It does not like her. The stuff that runs this world is very dark, nasty, and masculine. Totally masculine. No feminine show whatsoever. But the feminine in this instance is more powerful. But when you put the two together, the masculine and the feminine, then you've got real power. Then you start to understand. Then you will have the experiences the way you're meant to experiencing them. And you'll be looking to a time when you get out of here. You will not fear death. You'll actually look forward to it. Not in a way of like, oh, finally my suffering is ended. But like you'll know that there's something else. There's something else, and it's not going to just put you back. It's not going to pull the little foolage trick where, oh, it's just everything's perfect, go into the light, and then you recycle back into a maternity ward. No, she leads out. She leads out of this place. But that was a lot to dump in a short period of time. I could keep going forever with this stuff, but I want to leave just enough. I just had a pop-up on my screen from the Etsy store, so that was something else. That you can go back and watch it a couple times and let it sink in, and listen to the thoughts and the feelings that come up when you are listening to me, when she's talking through me, when you're looking at this altar, for lack of a better word, behind me. There's a lot of power coming off of this thing. And we've done experiments on this channel with the previous people. She called it a quantum window, where we actually filmed a previous setup of this with the intent that it was like, okay, now we're getting into quantum physics and stuff right here, but like, there's only one real time, and that's now. Now is the only real time. So when I'm filming this, it's now. And whenever it comes to when you watch this, what time will it be? It'll be now. I'm in the now, you're in the now. And with that understanding, we can open a window. So we did an experiment one time where we filmed 30 minutes of this with some music, the intention of opening that quantum window, and people could feel the energy coming through the freaking screen. There's also, she's the one that's going to teach you all this stuff. Spiritual is just a word. There's no difference between it and consciousness and quantum physics and all that stuff. It's all the same thing. Like Arthur C. Clarke said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So let that sink in. But either which way, you're here for a reason, and that is to get free. If you weren't, then you wouldn't be here. For people that are not like us, this stuff repels them, not draws them to it. They do not like that light. They like to feed off the light in the early stages before you really get control of it, before it's bright enough. But once you unleash that light, this channel used to be called Unleash the Light, then it's too much. They'll still kind of mess with you just to mess with you, but there's nothing in this realm that is higher than her, that is more powerful than her. Now, go higher than her, and then you've got other aspects of her, higher aspects, all the way up to the Father, to the all that is. But within this realm is like a dome. This is like a snow globe. It's a quarantine zone. It's a closed system. And what we want is everything that is outside of this closed system. We're trying to get out of this closed system. And you can and you will eventually. So other than that, check the links below for the Etsy store and stuff like that. I'll have my link tree. It's mainly got my other stuff on there. It has nothing to do with this, but it does have the Etsy store at the very bottom, and at the top there's another thing that she uses for support called Buy Me a Coffee. If you choose, it's like something where you can say thanks. You know, it's like $5. You know, buy me a coffee. It sends like $5. But just don't become a member on there. That's for something else. But feel free to, like, also in that link tree is going to have an email address. You can get a hold of me. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, the profile is Christopher Lucerna. You'll kind of see kind of like my profile with some light behind me, and then if you click on that and you look at the background banner screen, it's going to have Lumen on it. That's when you know you're in the right place. You can message me through the Etsy store, however, but definitely listen to that guiding voice within you. Okay, well, that's all we got for right now. Chris and Lumen, see you next time.